Hello everyone, welcome in, and welcome to episode 51. Where did we leave off in episode 50? Well, in episode 50, we started by entering a portal. Apis had just yeeted themselves off of a cliff and into a portal to the unknown. They were fairly confident that it was safe, and thankfully it was, as it turned out to be a portal to the plane of air. Thankfully also, Apis had tied themselves to a rope, because otherwise that would have meant a very unexciting end to Apis' story, as they fell infinitely, forevermore, through this infinite plane of air. However, tied to a rope, it meant that they got to dangle just underneath this portal in this infinite abyss and look around themselves. And as they did so, there was a couple of Aarakocra, some bird people, came flying over to investigate. Despite lack of shared language, Apis managed to communicate very simple concepts to this Aarakocra couple that they were from a plane through there where the rope disappears, and that they mean them no harm. Apis climbed back up the rope and tossed a coin through, show that there's a portal, that nothing comes back through, look. And then the one of the Aarakocra shot an arrow through and tested it out, it seems. Apis then put their hand through and was sucked through this portal and fell out the other side, to fall the rest of the way against some rope and slammed into the cliff face where they were tied to. It was then revealed that there was some time dilation between the two different portals, and 15 minutes on the other side was about 2 hours on the material plane. Not only that, but for the last hour and a half of that 2 hours, we had a guest waiting for us on the other side. Our captor, a young green dragon called Lucifrique, who had somehow received word that we had yeeted ourselves through a portal, and interested to see how that turned out, had come to the portal to wait for our return. Dangling us off the edge of the cliff, with the rope between his claws, ready to snap at any second, he started to interrogate us about what we'd seen on the other side, and we decided to try and lie to him, which has always gone well for us in the past. He sent through a bird, a spy that he seemed to have control over, and when it came back, he managed to confirm your story that you had only been gone for 15 minutes and that it was a product of time dilation. But he also confirmed that you were lying about the fact that something had shot at you while you were trying to escape. And there was actually a couple of, he said a flying snake. At this point, the flying snake also tumbled out of the portal, having followed you, and then seeing Lucifrique, freaked out and ran off, or flew away. You misty-stepped up to the ledge beside Lucifrique so that you were no longer at risk of being cut loose. And then you grovelled at his feet and apologised, and tried to explain away the discrepancies in your explanation, not as lies, but as simple misunderstandings. Lying had not gone well for Apis in the past, but they continued to try it. Lucifrique gave you one last warning. In no uncertain terms, he told you, if I ever find you lying to me again, that'll be it. You are on your last warning. He then flew away. As you lay there in the grass, sort of heaving, catching your breath, letting the adrenaline settle again, you got up to leave and heard two Aarakocra behind you who had also followed you through the portal. Again, unable to talk to them, you managed to communicate danger to them in a way that you hope would not be obvious to any bird spies watching. They seemed to get the hint and turned round and left. You then meandered your way back to the prison, as it were, the vegetative dome in which Luciferic keeps his living treasures. Once you got back there, you sort of milled around for the afternoon. You went up to the eating hall, but were denied food because of your discrepancies with Luciferic yesterday, and his punishment to you being that you will not eat. And while you were in this vegetative dome, you finally started to get tired and went off to the elves' trance hall, where you can grab some cushions and try and make yourself a makeshift bed. And just as you were settling down for the night, that's where we ended off. And it's where we'll be picking up right now. Did we ever figure out why the town hates the laundry lady? No, I don't believe we did. Did we make a deal with the dragon? Not particularly, no. We got caught. We were trying to investigate the dragon's lair and got caught. And now captured and taken as a prisoner, as a prize. We also convinced the dragon that we have planar abilities, planar portaling, teleportation, and that we could be very useful to the dragon in his fight against his father, an ancient or older, let's say, green dragon called Unguhef. So, as you are popping to sleep, there is you sort of snuggled down into your bedroll as best you can, closing your eyes. Thankfully, it's dark in this dome anyway. Again, this dragon mask, this dragon skull mask that you're forced to wear, is a little uncomfortable, but you can make do. As you're trying to get to sleep, there's a shriek from outside, as there is the familiar now sounding tearing of the grasses and vegetation from the dome as it opens. There's a shrieking and a thud. I'll have you make a perception check to see if you can sort of ascertain what it is that you're hearing. 14 plus your perception modifier of, that would be a +5, so that's a 19. With a 19, the thud is accompanied by a far-off sound. It sounds like this thud is somewhere outside and down on the ground floor, whereas you're up in the mezzanine of the treehouse village. The thud seemed to be accompanied by a bit of a sickening bone crack. You get up out of your bedroll, and there's a bit of a shriek accompanying this sound. But then the shriek subsides quickly when the sound of beating wings follows. As you get up and walk out of the trance hall and look down over the edge, with your dwarven eyes you have no dark vision, and it is impossible for you to see this far. You do have dark vision, but it's impossible for you to see more than 60 feet in the darkness of the dome. You can make out, of course, the large form of Luciferic, who has just opened a portal to an entrance to the dome, right in the very top of the dome, and flown through it. You can also tell, because you are quite intelligent and can understand context, that the thud and the sickening crack was someone being dropped through the portal hole. The dragon flies down, lands with a force on the ground, just out of your dark vision. You can just about make out the silhouette, and then you can see his silhouette stand and lord himself above you as he stretches his wings out, lord himself up, looking up at the mezzanine. I have a new guest and a new decoration. You hear the footsteps of clawed draconic feet as the Dragonborn guards are now rushing to attention, not obviously having expected him to have returned right now. So they are trying to get into position to offer the due respect that they need. What time is it? It is just about change of the guard. So it is, let's say, I think it'd be just before midnight. So On duty currently, you see down on the ground, heading towards the shack that stands alone on the ground, the one that you have been told to not get closer to under any circumstances, the one that houses the Dragonborn guards. Heading towards that on the ground floor, so not too far from where Luciferic has just landed, you see Inola, the head guard. You can also see the big, sort of more brutish one, Zakar. He is up on the level with you, and seems to have just been patrolling between the different tree houses along the rope bridges. And as this all goes down, Zakar rushes to the edge, looks over, and then starts rushing towards the rope bridge to head down to the rope ladder to head down to ground level and meet his master. Inola, fetch a pike. Inola immediately turns and rushes with due haste over towards the shack. At the front of actually, it's probably too far away that you can see the details of the shack with your dark vision. She pulls Luciferic. You can see. I'll have you make another perception check. See how well you can see through the dark now. 2. A 2 plus your modifier will not be enough. You can just about make out his silhouette, but nothing else. You creep closer to the edge. Absolutely, Gijallo. You creep up to the edge of the mezzanine and look down. You're trying your best to sort of make out what's going on down there. You can just about make out that he's standing over a vaguely body-shaped person on the ground. Can we throw a torch towards the dropped person so we can see what's happening? I mean, you could if you got out a torch and lit it and threw it down there, but it would be very possibly seen as an unwanted or hostile act towards the guards, especially because they've given you a bit of a bollocking for starting a fire just last night. Actually, just a couple of hours ago, when you were making a cup of tea, you went down to the undergrowth of this dome and lit a fire to boil a kettle with, and they did not like that. So you look around you and see that the other elves, the other captives of the village, have made their way over to the edges as well, and they're looking down at this display, waiting to see what the Lord does next. Before long, Inola returns from the cabin sort of area, and in her under her arm she has a large wooden pike. She's followed by Pakrish, who is seemingly off duty, and has also got one of these pikes under their arm. They walk over to not too far from where Tao Chu's body is still being displayed, with the 2 pikes under his arms in the centre of the village, and they drive them into the ground. You then see movement. It's been long enough now that I can repeat the perception check, see if you notice anything more. 10 plus your 5 perception, still not quite enough in the darkness. It seems the Dragonborn are able to move around and work in the dark, which reminds you of the fact that they are using dark vision potions. Actually, with your 15, it would be high enough perception that you can tell that Inola is moving around without issue in the dark. Pakrish is stumbling a little bit. You can gather from his behaviour that he's probably not taken his dark vision potion yet, and he's having a harder time seeing as they're hammering in the pikes to the ground. Once they're done, it takes about 10 minutes, and looking around, you can see that the elves standing there are, for one reason or another, either fear or respect or deference, they're just standing and watching. They're not leaving. So you stand and watch also. At the end of that hour, at the end of that 10 minutes, Luciferic lifts up his front claw and pulls with it the vaguely body-shaped silhouette. As it lifts up towards you a little further, it gets a little clearer with your dark vision, and also the surrounding torches that are up on the mezzanine. Some of the spilling light manages to catch and glint and gleam off of the armour that this person is wearing. Immediately, your concerns that it is Charlie are assuaged, given that Charlie was not wearing metal armour. But your gratefulness that it's not Charlie is immediately replaced by by dread when you see who it is. It is one of the Knights of Kvosna. It is one of the stronger Knights of Kvosna of Fondurg. He is holding up a high elf called Nambra Corianthil, who was a Wolverine rank Knight of Kvosna, with a red cloak hanging from the back of her shoulders. And as he holds her up, his claws under her arms as he holds her. He then drives her down with force and slow deliberation onto the spikes. You can hear from where you are that her arms crack and displace. He dislocates her shoulders as he drives the spikes down under her arms and holds her next to Tauchu, two Knights of Kvosna that dared to fight him, as a display of his power. You then can see, as he adjusts his position and starts to sort of pride himself like a proud cat patrolling round a dead rat. You can see that he's walking with a bit of a limp, and looking down to the foot that he's not fully standing on, you can see that it's because his foot on that side is curled around another creature. He looks down. "Ah, yes, I almost forgot." He holds that up and points it out towards the Dragonborn guard, Inola. He says, "My guest," and he just drops, poof, and this unconscious human man drops to the ground. Inola walks over and sort of pushes him over with the butt of her pike. He sort of coughs. "He's alive. I think you should get our new guest acquainted." He looks around the rest of the people up at the mezzanine. "Getting rather crowded in here." His eyes stop on you. He smiles. You see the hole open in the ceiling of this vegetative dome. His wings take off. You can see that Enola's almost pushed back from the wind, and he just takes up out of the hole, and it closes up behind him as he leaves. Nambra was not the samurai, no. Nambra was an eldritch knight. She had magical abilities. The samurai is Maeve. However, with the death of Tauchu and now Nambra, he has killed the two highest ranking members of the Knights of Kvosna of Fondurg. So, what do? You're standing up on the mezzanine looking down. You can see that Inola has fished out of her bag a new dragon skull mask, and she's placing it on the body of this semi-conscious man as she picks him up and starts to sort of slap him around. And he stumbles his way forwards, not quite sure where he is or what's going on. Do we recognise the new guest? I don't believe we will, but I will roll a history check. We have crossed his path, but we didn't have an interaction with him per se. Oh, 17, not too bad. 17 plus 3, dirty 20. Dirty 20. With a dirty 20, I'll say that before the mask gets put on his face, you can swear you recognise him from Fondurg. You're not 100% sure where. You're pretty sure you've met him in passing. Probably didn't get his name, but probably passed him on the street, or maybe he was in a meeting with the mayor. You sort of rack your brains for it a little bit. He's not dressed like a knight, no. As he sort of stumbles his way up the ladder, the rope ladder up onto the mezzanine with the dragonborn in tow, he sort of like crawls hands and knees off of the top of the ladder onto the mezzanine, and that's when you get a good look at him in the light of the torches up here. You can see that what he's wearing is Arcanist robes. He seems to be from the Arcanist's Entente, and that sparks your memory that he seems to have been one of the men in the Arcanist's Entente that you passed when you were going to visit Vala. Inola stands him up and sort of forcibly marches him past you. As you were, she says, as the to the various elves that are gathered, and they turn and head back to about their business as if nothing had happened. She pushes this new guy past you and into the trance hall and says, "About time that you get to bed, dwarf." Then she turns around and leaves leaves him in there, sort of curled up in the fetal position, half conscious. You can see Cassandra in there as well. She didn't come out to the balcony. She's just too terrified. There's still no Charlie around. Go over to the new guy, see if we can help him. All right. Check him for injuries. Let's have a little look then. Let's do a medicine check. As we do a once over on him, that is a natural 1. So we poke him in the eye. Are you okay? Ow! No, what? Grab him by the tongue, yank it out. No, you seem fine. We grab him by the throat. What happens if I do this for a while? Natural 1 on the medicine check. Unfortunately, you're very tired. It's around midnight. It's hard for you to tell exactly what's wrong with him, if anything. You don't see. I mean, even with a natural 1, you're gonna see things like a big gashing wound off of him. So you don't see like a gashing wound. There's nothing that's clearly like his arm isn't sticking out the wrong way or anything. He seems banged up, but you won't be able to tell anything else. Can we get Cassandra to now try that medicine check? Natural 1 medicine check. Just fix his hair and just like, you'll be fine, mate. We say, you hurt? And he sort of startles at that as if he hadn't really noticed that we were there. He says, no, yes, I'm okay. And he sort of like goes up and takes this mask off that he's not sure why he's wearing it. He takes the skull mask off and sort of places it down by his side. He says, am I dead? Stop him and grab the mask. You stop him, you put the mask back on him. You need to wear that, pal. I'm sorry, but you need to wear that mask. Keep it on for now. Okay. When he took his mask off, you can see that he's human, he's male, he seems to be somewhere in his 40s or so. Seems quite relatively handsome, looks after himself. His hands are quite calloused. It seems like he works with his hands, which is on the face of it seems to be a little uncommon for wizards that you know of. People of the Arcanist's Entente are wizardly and tend to prefer spells and quills and things. So this guy is obviously more of a hands-on type somehow or another. So he seems sort of a handsome in a ruggedly kind of way, but he doesn't have sort of leather sun-worn face like that of a farmer or someone who's been working outside all of his life. He said, "Do you remember what happened?" He says, "Yes, we were Nambra, and there was another. We got a tip that there was a captive had been released, and so Nambra and I went to determine whether it was true. And then there was an ambush waiting for us, and we were captured. We should explain the rules to him. Yeah. Just before I forget, pal, what the deal is you're a captive of Luciferique the dragon. While you're here, the rules are that you're not allowed to speak unless you're spoken to, and you've got to keep your mask on at all times. He sort of like takes that in a little, nods slightly. So, who is the tip from? He says, the elf, I think it was the wood elf from the Pencampur and Amgleshed. My head is killing. I need some fresh air. And he sort of like goes to stand up, and he's a bit shaky, but he stands up and sort of walks to the trance hall door. You said Polython? He says, was it Polython? The one who leads the Knights of the Pencampur and Amgleshed? No. The young one. She was She was very scared. She was there when Charlie got taken, and she said that Charlie had returned. You look. You can't leave. You stand up and follow him along, hand on his shoulder, and as he sort of gets to the door and stumbles out onto the mezzanine, he kind of looks around as if he's just now taking in his surroundings. How do I get outside? This is what I'm trying to tell you, buddy. There's no outside right now. You're gonna have to stay in here for now. There's plenty of fresh air in here. The walls allow for air to circulate, but you're gonna need to stay in here for a while. He turns to you. Who are you? You're the dwarf that was helping Fonderg. Yes, Apis. Does this elf have a reason to lie? Well, she must. She was lying. She led us there, and then we got captured. And she didn't. No. What's your name? He says, my name's Nim. Nim. You're. I feel like you're okay. You need to rest. I feel like your head's a little fuzzy because of the poison breath and things. He says, yeah, it feels like it's still in my lungs. You're okay now. We'll get you rested up and you'll be fine in the morning, I'm sure. The only ones allowed outside, unfortunately, have permission to go out, and they're always watched whenever they're outside. Cure wounds on him. His head is making it hard to pay attention. What do you guys think? Yes in the chat if you want to cast Cure Wounds on him. No if you do not. Does Cure Wounds require any sort of material components? I'm not sure that it does. Let me check. A lot of people saying yes, let's Cure Wounds him. It requires vocal and somatic, which means you can do it even if you didn't have any equipment on you. Very useful. We're going to sleep soon, so we'll get our slots back. Yeah. Explain it first, because otherwise the Dragonborn guards might get sus at us casting a random spell on him. I mean, if the Dragonborn guards can see you. If you want to look around, let's see if you can see the Dragonborn guards. It is with a 10 plus your 5 perception, a 15. You look around, you can only see one of the Dragonborn guards. He is currently it's Zakar, the big one. And he's standing over on the main balcony, and he is looking over at you guys. But if you were to head inside the trance hall where you meditate and sleep, he wouldn't necessarily have line of sight to you immediately. And if he wanted line of sight, he'd have to walk over to you, which would take a few seconds. So you'd have a few seconds if you walked inside. Why are we trusting this Nim person? Can we insight to see if he's lying? Absolutely we can. Let's have a look on the insight check. That is a 10 plus insight of... You're not proficient in insight, so just a plus 2. So that's a 12 total. With a 12 insight, he seems to be either putting on a very good performance, or he's genuinely just like out of it at the moment because of just being captured by a dragon and dragged here and almost knocked out and what have you. Seems to be suffering the effects of the poison breath. So we pull him back inside the room before casting. Yep. So we say, listen, you need to rest. Come on in here, and you grab him by the arm and kind of like turn and force him inside, and he obliges just without too much resistance. And as soon as you're out of sight of Zakar, you lay your hands up onto his chest where his lungs would be, and say, I'm just going to help you out here, buddy. I've got some abilities as a healer. Just trust me a second. And he looks down and sees your hand, kind of registers it. Just as your hand starts to feel warm, you are calling on Flonan Shale, the goddess of healing, to use you as a conduit, as she has many times before. You feel your hand get warm and surge from the warmth of your touch through his robes into his chest. You can almost feel the lungs getting cleaner as you heal him up for how much? 7, not bad. 7 plus your modifier of 2 from a ranger, so 9 points of healing to this guy. Not too bad. He immediately starts to cough and splutter, and some like greenish sputum hits the ground. Oh, thank you. That That helped. I'm a little clearer now, thank you. Sorry, what was your name? Apis. I'm grateful for your help, Apis. Listen, had Briar arrived in town before you left? He says, yes. Okay. Give him some water. Yes, do we have water? We've got water skins on us, right? Yeah, we've got a water skin. We take that out and say, listen, here, drink up. And he takes it and gives it a sniff. He drinks from it and says, how many are here? I haven't counted all of them yet. Maybe a dozen or so. So it wasn't her that I ate then? What? Luciferique tried to convince me that I ate Briar. No. What do you mean? He brought in a roast pig and told me it was her as I was eating it. Oh. Oh, that's grotesque. No, I there is a chance that the Briar I met isn't the real Briar, but Polython seemed to trust her. He likes to play mind games with us. Right. I'm gonna roll you an insight check real quick, just then. 19 plus 2 insight, 21. This guy with his clearing head, he's getting used to where he is and what's happening. When you say he likes to play mind games, it's like something clicks on for him, and suddenly he's in a different mode. It's like he's just changed, and you can see his eyes are darting. His mind is going quicker as with your cure wounds. It's like you've rebooted, and now his internal computer is starting to speed up. It's like you can almost read the processing power on his face get faster, and there's just something about this guy that just it tells you this guy is smart. Not only because he's wearing the robes of the Arcanist Entente, of course, but he's obviously quite an intelligent person. There's also, with your 21 insight, you can also tell that there's a look of concern on his face that increases when you mention that he likes to play mind games. Can you recall the name of the elf girl that gave you the tip now? And he says, oh yes, Hidden Ruin. She's an elf of the Pencampur and Emgleshed, and she was there when Charlie died. Charlie was taken. Warn him. Oh, by the way, while we're talking about rules, lying to the dragon does not go well, I've discovered. He's very good manipulator. He says, yes, dragons usually are, particularly green ones. So she was there when Charlie was taken, and then also when this last ambush happened. Yes, she's clearly working for him in some way. I don't know why, but I don't have means to get a message to Vala, Pertran, or Polython. Did you have you seen a giant bee? Yes. Your bee made it fine. She's the one who alerted us to your whereabouts, or alerted us to the fact that you were taken anyway. Not Hidden Ruin, it's Hedin, which is a title within the Pencampur and Angleshed, and her name is Ruin. Hedin Ruin. It's like Mr. or Mrs. or Doctor or something. Can I ask what's your job at the Arcanists? He says, I'm an artificer. I work with objects. I see. We should work out a way to warn them if they message us tonight, as before. Did you hear anything about a rescue attempt? Arcanist of the Arcanist Entente. How much would he be in the loop? Let's see. How much does he know? Oh, not 20. He knows quite a lot. He says, yes, I have heard the king has sent some. He suddenly stops himself and looks around, and as he sort of walks to the door, he says, He sort of nods, and you can tell that somebody's, and you stand there, and you can see that Zakar is standing just outside of the door, within earshot, but not within sight. It seems like as soon as you disappeared to cast, Zakar followed you across. Zakar says, "No, go on. Don't let me stop you. The king has what? The king has heard about Fonderg being attacked by a dragon. And your king will send his armies to save this little town. We're not sure yet. We're hoping so." You lucky fuckers. Alright, I just rolled a deception check for Nim and got a net 20. He says, we're not sure if the king will take action, but we're hoping he will. Good luck. I suggest you get to sleep. Big days ahead of you. Yes, I'm feeling rather fuzzy, he says, rubbing his forehead, and then turns and looks around the room, sort of taking it in for the first time. Just anywhere then? And you say, "Hey." You grab a couple of cushions and sort of like snuggle down onto the floor, make as comfortable a bed as you can. This is not a bedroom per se, because it's an elven village, so they don't sleep, they just have cushions for meditating on. We can offer him our bedroll. Do you want to do that? Faye suggests it. How do the rest of his synapses consider? You want to offer Nim our bedroll so he can get a better night, at the risk of us not having quite as good a night? You say, also, by the way, speaking in other languages that the Dragonborn don't understand is prohibited. No, yes, no, ooh, right down the middle so far. Ooh, yeses and nos coming in both sides. Are we going to offer him a bedroll or not? Looks like we're in two minds about this, says Apis, so we're going to put it to a proper poll. Alright, we offer a bedroll with 64% of the vote. Say, do you want my bedroll? Might be able to sleep sounder if you... And he says, "No, oh, that's very kind, it's fine, I'll make do." He says, "It's really no bother, I'm used to sleeping rough, I've lived in the wilderness my whole life." He's feeling pretty fucked. That might reduce his ability to be polite. Yeah, I think he goes, I mean, if you're sure, we could share it if you expand it out. He says, yeah, okay, let's do that. Time of year, it is like mid-spring, so it's not exactly cold or too hot. So you may find in the night that you get a little chilly without the blanket part of your bedroll, but you lay out the mattress part and the blanket part next to one another so that you can both use it as a mattress. And then you can see him. He like keeps going to take the mask off, and then he says, "Do we really need to wear this while we sleep?" And you say, "Well, I don't know. I've not been told that I'm allowed to take it off, so I just try my best. And if it falls off in the night, obviously I can't help that." Okay. What is it? What does it do? You say, I don't actually know yet. He says, I'll work it out. And then there's footsteps, draconic claw footsteps across the rope bridge over to this hut again. And Zakar comes walking in through the archway and says, "I'm hearing a lot of talking. I'll let this go this once because you're new, but do not speak unless you're spoken to by one of us." Nim just nods, and you kind of nod your head as well. And then you lie down on the bedroll next to this fella. Room for one more. That's the bedroll next to the guard. You can do that if you want, Plonged. I mean, you've seen Tisharu get away with some cheek. You can give Zakar a bit of cheek if you want, and test the boundaries. It's up to you. Just joking. Okay. time to level up our sign language. Sign language does exist in my games. You can teach yourself sign language just like you can with any other language. You get bonuses to learning sign language if you already know Thieves' Cant, because there's a lot of sign involved in Thieves. So as Zakar leaves, you both sit down to sleep. You are aware that Zakar is close enough to be able to hear when you chat again, so it kind of puts a damper on talking to this guy any further. He seems like he's definitely going to survive through the night, especially with your healing. And so as you sleep, unless there's anything else that you particularly want to do before going to sleep, it is very late in the evening, late into the night now. So lay down, go to sleep, say goodnight, and go to sleep. All right. You can sass, and you get a couple of hits with the spears. Yep, that seems to be the case with Tisharu. Yes, he seems to have found a nice balance, and as he told you earlier today, you've got to know when to push your luck with them and when not. He doesn't push his luck with Enola, but he does with Zakar and Pakrish. So you go to sleep during the night. It's not the most comfortable, but I won't make you roll for it because the DC to have a nice rest just with the lack of a blanket. It's not like you're out in the weather, so there's a bit of a chill, but it's not enough to prevent you getting a full night's rest. The DC would be low enough that you couldn't fail it with a +2 con. So you do wake up a couple times, roll over. There's also you wake up a couple times when the sounds of draconic claws stand over you, or walk past the trance hall, or just doing the rounds and things. You wake up a couple times when the elves come into trance, and then leave again because you require 8 hours and they only require 4. You wake up most abruptly though, after who knows how long, when a hand covers your mouth. You are shocked awake with the hand over your mouth in the dark. Your mask lies discarded to the side as it's fallen off in the night. And standing over you with his hand on your mouth is a young Bridden, a young half-elf, half-human man, a druid from the Pancampur in Amgleshed called Charlie. He has his hand over your mouth and giving you the sign. He says, "Listen, I've got Tisharu and Beladel distracting the guards, but I'm not sure how long it'll last, so I'll speak quickly. I've been testing the boundaries since I got here in order to learn where they lie. I've risked my life for this information, and I'm pretty sure I'll be taken out to be hunted tomorrow because of it. I might have pushed it too far tonight by not being back in time for dinner. When they realise that I never left in the first place, it's only a matter of time before he considers me too much trouble to keep around. Firstly, his army. I've been speaking with the beasts, and the giant ones are rare to come by and have difficult gestation periods. His reptilian blood is leading to many of the beasts not making it to term, and even fewer of them making it to adulthood. He spends the vast majority of his day scouring the forest to breed with new forms. With the exception of the rats and the squirrels, this means that any that we are killing is a huge hit to his forces, as he can't replace them as fast as we can destroy them. I don't know if this is all of them, but I have discovered that he has a giant hedgehog, a deer, a badger, a mole, and then of course the rats and squirrels. Now, as for the Dragonborns, he has just the 3 guards here, and I'm sure you've already worked out their shift patterns and specializations. You've been here a couple of days now. You'll also be aware that they take dark vision potions every 8 hours, brewed by Capona and Lerrington. When we make a move, we can spike them. The Dragonborn's hut, it's kept locked and barred from the inside, and they don't carry keys. They're let in by the one inside whenever their shift ends. There's just 2 rooms inside, a big one with a single bed in it that they share, and a smaller one kept locked where they keep our confiscated items. There's also an outhouse round the back and a pile of wooden pikes. Outside of these 3, I've heard them talk about others, but if they were capable fighters, they wouldn't be running a 3-person guard and allowing them to get as tired as they do before they end their shift. Therefore, I think that the others they speak of must be breeders, aiming to expand his clan. Who is the second person keeping the guards distracted? He mentioned Tisharu and Beladel. Beladel is the name of the cook, the male cook that hates you because he's racist. Is there any others that you 3 guards? Thought there were 6. There's only 3 guards that you've ever seen here: Enola, Pakrish, and Zakar. And they've been on a three-person rotating shift. Each person takes 16 hours and then takes 8 hours off. And you've definitely, totally, all taken the 2 days that you've been here to work out their shift patterns and things that Robert has been hinting at for the last several episodes. You've definitely put the time and effort into learning these sorts of little clues that might help on a prison escape, haven't you? You've definitely been doing that, haven't you? Definitely. Can we turn to see if Nim's woken up as well? We certainly can try. Let's see. Nim has not woken up. You turn to him and you can see that he is either very good at performing like yesterday, or he is still sound asleep. He continues. As for the walls are thick brambles. They're enchanted similarly to a spell that we call razor grass or spike growth, depending where you're from. Pushing through the walls will hurt, unless you're as small as a bug, I've found. Given the right incentive, though, and a body that can withstand it, it's still an option. I think the walls would also succumb to fire very quickly, but it's very risky for obvious reasons. Within the walls and the surrounding forests are thousands of creatures. From speaking with them and gaining their trust, it seems that he does not sense through them directly, but rather he has a way of sort of checking in. He checks in with them whenever he remembers to, and learns that all that they have seen and heard since the last time he checked in. It's also, like with the brambles, he has a power to manipulate them to his will, but it takes a conscious effort from him to do so. You ask him about the kobolds, right? You say, what about the kobolds? He looks taken aback. What kobolds? There are kobolds in the well underneath the sewers of Fondurg. They're the ones who kidnapped Cassandra and brought her here. Shit. I didn't know about the kobolds. Never mind, we're only in fact finding at the moment. As for his lair, I unfortunately have yet to work out where he rests or where he keeps his hoard. Dragons like this will definitely have some sort of treasures, and I know that he's been making Alana build sculptures for him. He's also kept a few of the nicer looking trophies that he's had from Fondurg and such. He obviously keeps a hoard somewhere, and I'm not sure where he keeps it or where he sleeps. I have a test that I wish to run tomorrow to try and determine a little more about where he potentially sleeps. I have a thought that I wish to test out. Tell him about the necromancer in the portal. Say, all right. Well, I've also learnt a few things. Nearby, there's a necromancer, and he says, "Yes, I heard when you came in, you mentioned something about undead, and it freaked him out. That's something I'm going to get to in a moment." He says, "Right. There's also a portal nearby." He says, "What?" It kind of completely stops him. What? A portal. There's a portal to the plane of air, not too far from here. Really? There shouldn't be. So, well, there is. I went through it. You went through it and survived? Yes, I was tied to a rope. Right. You're lucky you didn't land in a storm. There's storms? Oh, yes, there's storms larger than anything you can possibly imagine that rage for thousands of years, millennia. There are some very, very serene parts of the plane of air. It's one of the calmest places in the universe. However, there's also quite a lot of danger there in certain pockets. We're getting off topic. There was no storm around the portal that you went through? No, there wasn't. Not for anywhere within line of sight. Okay, well that's not the most useful for us then. Why do you know about portals? He says, it's been a fascination of mine. The planes have always been a fascination. I've studied the magics for a long time. We're off topic. The captives. The captives here. I'm just going to have you roll a perception check real quick, just for no reason at all. 11 plus your 5 perception, 16. As he starts to talk about the captives, you can hear that there is claw on wood. There seems to be a dragonborn seems to be approaching. He says, "Shh, hide." As he hears this, You see his body shifts. His like in a matter of seconds, his entire person seems to absorb within itself as if he's imploding, and left behind is a small spider, about the length of your thumb, that just is lands down on the ground and then scuttles up onto the wall beside you. Like a couple of seconds after that, and a moment too soon, Zakar comes to the door and kind of looks into the room with you. You've pretended you're pretending you're asleep. It seems to work as Zakar sort of turns and walks off. Keep muttering, so it sounds like we didn't immediately stop. Clever cookery. Yeah, you sort of mutter in your sleep a little bit. Dragons, dome. Okay, help. No Briar. It seems to assuage his curiosity, and he leaves. We know exactly who it is because we took detailed notes of the guard shift. Yeah, you definitely have. Yeah. Apis is scared of spiders and freaks out. Kill it! Just smashes him and he pops back. Once he's left, you sort of open an eye and see that he's gone, and then you sit up again slowly and see that the spider on the wall is not there, and then appearing from near the door, the spider shifts back into Charlie again, having climbed over to the door to make sure that the guy had actually left, and then says, "It seems Belladel has run out of stalling tactics. I have to speak quickly. That actually brings me to my next point. I'm confident that most of the captives here would assist us in a rebellion if we can show them that we have a good chance of winning. However, I know that all that remain here is all that remains of this once much larger village, which means that by self-selection, they are the ones that are more likely to err on the side of not rocking the boat. Many have seen firsthand what happens if a rebellion fails. We cannot rely on them for support unless we can show a very strong side. So, to summarize before I leave, I think we have a number of possible plans as I see them, and I'm wanting to hear your take on it. Number one, we could put our energies into finding his sleeping spot, and we could formulate a plan around attacking him there. Number two, we could systematically start to thin his army out, separate off his giant beasts and pick them off one at a time, causing him great distress. After that, start on his rats and squirrels. Fighting him without his army will be a lot easier. Part of that as well, part of that same plan is that he seemed particularly angry when you mentioned undead, so we could also try and find the undead and see if they could help. As loath as I am to work with such foul magics, it seems like in the right circumstances it might help. The third possibility is that we could get him to train you. We could get you to learn his ways and his style of fighting, any blind spots he may have. Get as close to him as you can and learn what you can about him. Earn his trust. This may be the toughest option, as it could require you to do what needs to be done. I'm just going to roll you an insight check there, see if you pick up on what he's putting down there. A 5. It seems like your tired brain is not quite understanding what he's meaning there, but you can gather it however you individually see fit. And fourthly, the other option is that we can secretly start to prepare a rebellion among the captives here for when a rescue does come. Tell him about the spies. You say, are you aware that the birds and he says, yes, I'm aware that they work for him. As I say, he does not see through their eyes or hear through their ears directly, but rather he checks in with them and sort of updates himself on everything that they have seen since he last checked in. If he is distracted, the spies do not report to him for a while. The more distracted we can make him, the more we can make him forget to check in with his spies. The longer it goes between him knowing where they are and what they see. So what say you, Apis? What should we do? Gaining his trust will be difficult after all the lies. It certainly will. That is definitely an option that you had to begin with that has gotten It's still an option. It's still on the table, but you have made it significantly harder for yourself by lying to him. Starting fires in the forest to disrupt and distract. That could also help. Yeah, that could be a way to distract him from getting his spies. Should we ask him about that elf that Nim told us about? Yeah, you can do so. Are we asking him about about Ruin? What about starting fires in the forest to disrupt and distract? That could help. Of course, as a warrior of the wilderness, I'm loath to start fires to my own gain. If it means the greater good survives and we can rebuild and regrow the forest. Controlled burning is something that is important in a wilderness. Could you escape in that form? And he says, I have been testing that. I am unclear whether or not I could survive. There are a great many birds, a great many beasts. There are many critters in the forest, and they would all be acting under his control if he was to hunt me. He leans in real close and says, I took that risk when I told Briar to run. I'm glad that it paid off. Does Charlie know about the same wood elf betraying? You don't know yet. I'm asking you guys. Do we want to tell him about the wood elf, or do we want to couch that in like couch language? Do we want to just straight up say it, or ask him in a sort of a roundabout way? How do you want to say it? If you want to say it at all. Yeah, you want to tell him? Can we smuggle him out when we forage potentially? Can you become something that burrows or swims? There's a river nearby. He says, I can swim, yes. I can swim very well. But it's not only the squirrels and birds of the forest that work for him. It's the fish as well. Don't worry, I feel like if the time comes to it, I feel like I can handle myself, at least for a while. Just straight tell him. You say, listen, before I forget, this guy's new, he's from the Arcanist Entente. He says, yes, I recognise him. He said that he was ambushed. How well do you know Ruin? I'll have you make an insight check. No, not one. Sweet. He says, I know Ruin fairly well. You say, how long has she been at the PEA? He says, a few years, I think. Like 2 years or like 10. Oh, closer to 10, maybe even 20. Quite a while. Is she trustworthy? What are you getting at? She was there when you were taken, right? Yes. She was there when these two were taken as well. Apparently she gave them a tip that you had escaped, and so they went. He says, they? Who's they? He says, this one and Nambra. And he says, Nambra, where is she? And he says, she's with Tao Chu. Oh. And Ruin led them to the ambush. It seems like it. Stupid girl. She, I didn't think she'd take it. When he came for me, he was playing mind games with us both. He crashed down through the greenhouse, and there was just the two of us there. He offered for us to choose which of us was to go and which was to be spared. And he said the one who stays behind will work for him now. He threatened us, threatened our families. He said that he would come. I stepped up and said that I would be taken. But if I'd known that she would have taken him at his word. She has always been a timid person, very anxious. I don't know where she's from, actually. But she obviously has a family that she wishes to protect. Stupid, selfish girl. I need to get message to them. I can't afford to send message with the beasts here. They work for him. It wouldn't have been an easy choice either way. No. But it seems she's erring on the side of saving her own life than saving that of von Dirk. The selfishness of elves. Their lives are worth so much more than anybody else's. It's what I hate about my father. It's going to make it difficult to get these elves on our side as well. That same arrogance, that same inherent superiority over others. They will not risk their lives for you, particularly. They have talked to me because I look like my father. Look, Charlie, don't be too hard on her. She's been put in a terrible situation. No, I know. We all have. But now he has as well. Nim finally starts to stir with the voices. It turns over. Shh. You should leave. You need to decide what our plan of action is. I'm fairly confident I won't be around much longer. And then he walks over to the one of the cushions in the other side of the room. And just like plumps it up. And just like sits down. You build a pile around him. So get up from and you grab a couple more cushions and build a pile up in front of him. Look, you should escape from the portal while I seek out the necromancer. He says, no. There are greater uses of my time here. Trust me. I was here all along. I was just walking and they didn't see me. I don't think that'll fly. He says, I'm counting on it. Gives you a wink and then rolls over. So what do you want to do? You haven't fully finished your long rest yet. You can probably get a couple more hours in. Can we cast Pass Without a Trace on others? Yes, you can, yep. Pass Without a Trace is an ability that happens within like a 30-foot radius of you. Finish the long rest, it's probably a good idea. Alright. You good with finishing the long rest, everybody? Sleep on the pile of cushions next to Charlie. Finish sleeping. Sounds like we're going to need to sleep. You're going to sleep where you were or sleep next to Charlie? Check who's on guard first. You walk to the door and look out. You can see that Zakar is down the very far end of the mezzanine and starting to make his way back this way. Zakar is still on duty. Looking around, you can see that, what time of day is it? It'd be Pakrish. Pakrish is on duty as well. You can see Pakrish over by Tisharu's hut, walking back your way as well. Where we were. Alright, we'll go where we were then. Cuddle Charlie and then leave. Go back to where we were, sit down next to Nim, who kind of stirs and opens his eye. He looks around, confused, his mask's fallen off. What? Oh, that's right. sighs heavily and just kind of like rolls his back to you. So you head back to sleep, or rather you try to estimate the time in the early morning. It's very difficult to do, Spates, because you're inside of a dome that does not let light in, and so you can't see the stars. You can hear, like, the best you can do would be to intuit it from like the birds twittering and things outside. So it is possible, just a high DC. Let's make a survival check for you. What's the DC? All right. Oh, not bad. Sorry, I didn't roll it in the tray. It was a 15. 15 plus survival. Yeah, you got plenty of survival, and it pertains to being in a forest, so you get your wraith bonus. It was still high enough. You managed to kind of listen out. You feel the coolness of the air. You listen to the lack of birds twittering, but there is a couple, just not a lot. So it's right on the cusp of when the birds start to wake and twitter. You gather that it's probably somewhere around 4 in the morning. We should take note that the guard didn't punish us for not having our mask off when we pretended to be asleep. Correct. Alright, so you lay back down. Lots of things rushing through your mind now. It seems Charlie has been working hard to gather information, as you have as well, I'm sure. And so he's started to put together the building blocks from which we could potentially come up with a rebellion or an escape plan. You try to rest. I'm going to roll a wisdom check to see if you can sort of still your mind enough to go back to sleep again. 17. Yeah, you are the master of your own mind. Apis, come again. Can't decide on where to eat. But for some reason in this moment, the tiredness overtakes your crazed mind, and you manage to get yourself back to sleep very quickly. We do like to sleep, yeah. Charlie is definitely not being used right now to give us all of the information we were meant to be gathering this whole time. Yeah, definitely not. I definitely haven't written Charlie's whole exposition monologue that lasted almost 2 pages of my document to give you information that you could have picked up on from day one if you'd bothered to actually start doing some investigation around the place. Of course not. So you go back to sleep. Before too long, or it feels like you've only just put your head on the pillow, as it were, when a voice wakes you in your mind. I hope sunrise is still safe for you. King's army on the way, might be fewer than expected. Weaken his forces if safe to do so. It's the voice of Valor. You are woken. You have established with her that sunrise may be the safest time to speak, and so you have to deal with the fact that you are now being woken at sunrise every time with very little time to sort of react and think about what you're going to reply. You have very little time. You are woken by the feeling of a window opening in your mind through which Valor speaks, and then the window is closing again slowly. You have up to 25 words to reply. Say as a prayer, Lord Luciferic, on this new day I offer you this prayer. Thank you for your watchful eyes in the forest, your guidance over me as I explored the plane of air from the northerly portal, and your victory over Nambra. Thanks to our sister Ruin, protecting our growing dome of treasured people. In your name we pray. I like that. Plunged. It's a lot longer than 25 words though, so if we can do a similar thing, if we can get that down to 25 words, that's a very good idea. We can talk into the pillow so no one can hear as well. So we're woken by the words, and we quickly roll over and stick our face in the pillow as we speak. We just ignore the voice, go back to sleep. Stretch and hum as an answer. So we've got a poll to say here. Are we going to give a non-verbal response, some sort of hum or just an acknowledgement? Are we going to say nothing at all, just in the very safest option of don't say anything? Hope in case somebody's listening. Do you just give a straight up info dump of everything that you can think to tell Vala? You can quickly look around to see if anybody's around you, but by doing so you're losing some of the words, I'll say, because the window is open and closing very quickly. You got a message. As soon as her message ended, your message began, and so you've got 25 words that you can say, and it's getting smaller by the second. Structure it like responding to dreams, stuff like Pon Ambre, Ruin, how could you? Yeah, I like that. Ruin, no, Ruin, don't be a spy for the dragon and lead people to their deaths. Ruin, how could you work to your own selfish needs when Charlie was taken and you were threatened and your family was threatened. How could you, Ruin, work for the dragon? Are you working with the kobolds in the well as well? No, Ruin. Didn't we already tell Vala that there were kobolds in the well? We said danger in well, vegetation dome, 20 elves captive, 6 dragonborn, might not be Briar, birds are spies, Cassandra here, will wait for help, I'm okay. Alright, 76% of Apis deciding we're going to try and disguise it as a prayer. With only 11% of you wanting to info dump or give a non-verbal. This is 25 words. God Altimus, thanks for keeping Nim safe. Nambra died, but Charlie is safe. Guide me against the kobolds on the well and the spy Ruin. I like that. That is a very well thought out prayer there, Asasha. Anybody against Asasha, or anybody who Asasha's ideas there, or anybody got any tweaks that they want to do to it? Apis' mind running a mile a minute here. You vote for Gijalos's prayer. Lord Lucifreak, at dawn we pray and thank you for your eyes in the forest and defeating Nambra, thanks to our sister Head in Ruin. We don't mention the kobolds in the well, but we do mention that Nambra's dead and that Ruin was responsible. Do we prefer Asasha's or Gijallo's? Alright, put a thumbs up if you want to vote. If you want to pray to Altamez. Put a thumbs down if you want to pray to Lucifreak. Oh, it's down the middle. We're going to have to put a proper vote to this, I think. Ooh, close one, close one. 58% of Apis' mind decides in the moment to pray to Altamez. Wouldn't praying to Lucy make him sus? Yeah, potentially, yeah. But we're praying to Altamez. That is decided now. Now I just need to see the prayers again, because there were sort of 2 competing ones. If we go with Mind Fancy's modification is better. Sasha's with your modifications. God Altamez, thanks for keeping Charlie safe. Nambra died, but Nim is safe. Guide me against the kobolds in the well and the spy Ruin. Who's good with that one? God Altamez, thanks for keeping Charlie safe. Nambra died, but Nim is safe. Guide me against the kobolds in the well and the spy Ruin. Who's good with that? Put a thumbs up in the chat if you're good with using that one. Put a thumbs down if you're not. Most people are okay with this wording, so this is what we'll use. She said, I hope Sunrise is still safe for you. King's army on the way. Might be fewer than expected. Weaken his forces if safe to do so. To which you sort of startle, spin over and stick your head in the pillow, and then say a little prayer to Altamez. God Altamez, thanks for keeping Charlie safe. Nambra died, but Nim is safe. Guide me against the kobolds in the well and the spy Ruin. You say this, and the window closes, like clips the last part of Ruin, just at the very tail end of it. So you could not have been closer. There's no response from her. There's no response from anyone in the room. Then there's a creaking of wood, the floorboards, and then there's footsteps walking across towards you. Not dragon claw footsteps. Go back into a sleep posture. Yeah, because it's normal to wake with a start, flip yourself over and stick your face in the thing, say a prayer, and then immediately go back to sleep. That'll sell. The footsteps walk over to you. And then you can feel the weight transfer as whoever it is crouches beside your bedroll. Let's hope it's not racist elf again. And as you kind of turn your head to the side and open your eye sleepily, you see it is indeed racist elf again. Belladel the cook, the one who caught us yesterday, waking with a speech to somebody. He stares at us and says, "At least this time you tried to hide it. I thought I was clear yesterday. If you bring trouble to this village, I won't stand for it. I hope Charlie explained what he needed to. And I hope you prove more worth than you have been so far." And then he stands up and leaves the room. I don't know what you're talking about. I think he's just being a dick. Quite possibly. The enemy of your enemy is your friend, yeah, maybe. What did he say about Charlie? You sort of sit up now and rub the sleep from your eye. You notice that Nim is still sleeping. Took a lot out of him yesterday and he's sleeping it off. You look over to where Charlie is and he is not there. The pile of cushions is tipped over and Charlie is gone. Did we finish a long rest? Yes, we did. We finished a long rest, so you get your spells back. Just wanted to do that for the fun of it. You get all your spells back, you get your hit points all back, you get one of your hit dice back, not that you've used any I don't think. You get your lucky horseshoe, I think you've still got inspiration from the last time as well. Can we do an investigate to see if the cushions were disturbed in an aggressive way? We can certainly look. That's another nat 1, that's a lot of nat 1s today. You stand up and you look over to the cushions and you're like, those are cushions. Those cushions are on the floor. Cushions are sometimes on floors so that you can sit on them. That's what you get from that. You want a new D20? All right, let's put this one. Let's put this one in a cage. There we go. That lives in a cage now. It has rolled a couple nice numbers for us today. It's rolled a 20 or 2. In fact, it rolled 2 20s for what's his chops? Nim or Charlie. Can't remember who now. Who's on guard? Let's incite rebellion, kill some hybrids. All right. So you're awake. You are on day something. This is the start of day 3 of being in captivity. What do you want to do? What is your intention for the morning? Put the mask back on first of all. Yep. You go and find your mask, your dragon skull mask. You place it back on your face. Check the guard rotation. So you head out onto the balcony. I'll have you make a survival check to see. Other Apis D20. 17. It's working for us, look. 17 plus your enormous survival plus your forest bonus. You can tell from the tweeting of the birds outside and the slight rays of light that are breaking through the very thick brambles above. You can tell that it's early morning. It's probably around 7 a.m. Looking around, you can quickly find the 2 guards that are on duty are Zakar and Pakrish still. It seems that Enola is not on night duty. Never has been. She was around when Lucifreak arrived back about midnight, and then she's not yet back on duty. Is the outhouse that Charlie talked about an actual water closet? Can we use it to get close to the guard shack? It's out the back of the guard shack. You look across that way, and in the it's still dark under the dome, but you can see slightly further with the morning light starting to come through. In very small, sparse patches here and there. And so you can see a little further, you can see that the guard shack is just a wooden chalet, and round the back of it is a separate wooden building with a water closet. You've not yet used that yourself. You've done your business out of the dome because you've been foraging all day so far. See if they'll let us eat yet. Yeah, you can go to the breakfast hall, see if the dining hall, see if they'll let you eat if you want. Was that rude elf one of the ones distracting the guards? Yes, he was. He doesn't like you, but that doesn't mean he's working against you. He still wants what you want. He wants his safety. He wants to be free of this situation, it seems. He's just like 2 prisoners in prison can hate one another and still try to escape together or try to work out a way to work against the guards. I think night is the best time for us to attack then, keep Enola asleep. Quite possibly. Maybe try to find some food. We should stay away from the necromancer, find where he sleeps. Charlie lists the options. Find his sleeping spot, thin down his army, find the undead, see if they would help, get him to train you, learn his weaknesses, or prepare a rebellion with the captives. Which of those do you reckon will be interested in, or something else, if there's some other options that you want to do? Finding where the dragon sleeps is a bad idea. Necromancer all the way. We have no weapons. We don't have weapons. We know the weapons are being kept because of Charlie's exploration, probably as a spider. We know that the weapons are being kept in the Dragonborn's chalet. Force weakening. Weak their forces. Go to the alchemists, weaken the potion of night vision. That's an option as well, Spates. We could weaken the potion potions of night vision if we want to talk to the alchemists about it. If Lucifreak's asleep and Enola is asleep during the night, and then we attack, Enola has to come out, and that leaves the Dragonborn shack unguarded, open so that someone can go in and get weapons. Lucifreak won't be awake to catch up with the animal spies, so there'll be a delay. Now you're starting to think like people are trying to escape, rather than setting up shop to live here forever. Do we know how to make poison? We don't know how to make poison, but we do know a couple of alchemists in this village that probably know how to make poison. Poison's unlikely to work against green Dragonborn. Yeah, you would know that green Dragonborn, because of their nature, because of their ancestry, are probably resistant to, if not immune to, poison. Enola's probably the strongest guard. You have noticed that Enola's probably the strongest guard. Vive la Resistance! Thin the herd! Alright, it seems like a lot of people are going for the weaken the army, weaken his forces option, but there's definitely not consensus on it, so we'll put it to a poll. What plan to start? Because obviously these things are all important, but which one are we going to focus our attention on first? The 5 options are: do we find where his lair is? Like go out foraging, and while we're foraging try and pick up on clues as to where he sleeps. Weaken his forces. So go out and try and like pick off his big guys one at a time. There's obviously dangerous, very risky danger to that. In like if you get caught and the spies manage to report back to him that you've killed one of his force, then he's not going to be happy about that. Earn his trust. That means like go and take him up on his offer of training and like grovel to him and show that you are working for him now and you love him and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity and all that blah blah blah. Try and earn his trust, try and be with him and learn from him, because the closer you are to danger, the further you are from harm. Prepare a rebellion, talk to the other people of the other captives, see if any of them, see how they feel towards him, see which ones start gathering information about like, are they on board? Would they join you if you fought? Have they got anything to offer? Could the cooks poison the dragon's food or anything like that? Or something else that I've thought of, that I haven't thought of rather, some other plan. Like set the whole place on fire and run. Alright, with 54% of the vote, Apis decides the plan of attack is to weaken the forces. Take out some of the enemy, the army. You know from Charlie that he has a giant hedgehog somewhere. I don't believe you've seen the giant hedgehog yet, have you? Seen the deer, mole and badger and a whole bunch of rats and squirrels, but apparently there's a giant hedgehog as well, and potentially others. Alright, so weaken their forces. How are we going to do this? That is the next poll. How are we going to weaken his forces? Go and find the undead to add to our own forces. Go find the Aarakocra to add to our own forces and potentially get a bow and arrow from them. Coax one of his big guys away and kill it. Set traps for them so that we don't kill them directly and Lucifreak can't see us through his spies killing one of his force. Or set a forest fire and just try and weaken like certain huge chunks of like his infantry. Kill a bunch of the rats and squirrels and birds in that same forest fire. The undead doesn't weaken his forces. It does in the same way that I was saying that like the strength of your army and the strength of his, if you weaken his or strengthen your own, it's the same effect. Getting the undead to help you kill the whole point of going to the undead is to get them to help you kill his forces. Alright, with 58% of the vote, Apis decides they're going to try and go and find the undead and try and turn them to their cause, to use the undead animals to kill the green dragon animals for them. You head on out. As you're about to head down the ladder, you can hear somewhat hurried footsteps coming across to you from the sculptor's place. And you see Alana, the sculptor, approaching. And she, as she arrives next to you, there's no dragonborn around, so she says, "Listen, I just wanted to, apologize. I was very rude to you before. I thought you'd been disrespectful to Lord Lucifreak when you denied the food, but I spoke with Tisharu this morning. I'm very sorry for what you've been through. we've been through similar things, and we shouldn't be turning on each other. And thank you again for the stone that you got me yesterday. I really appreciate it. It feels good to be working with stone once again. I should be off. And she turns and walks back over the rope bridge towards her sculpting floor. It's okay. No hard feelings, you say as she walks away. And you turn and get back down onto the rope ladder and climb back down to the floor. As you get to the ground floor, you are approached. What time of day is it? It's about 7 a.m. I said, right? Yeah, you're approached by Pakrish, who says, "What are you doing? What?" And you're like, "Foraging again for the day." He says, "Fine." And he walks over, begrudging having to open the door for you every day. It seems as if that's not just like one of the very few things he actually has to do with his day. You follow him over to the wall, and as you walk, you say, "Can I ask, did Lord Luciferic receive my message about the birdmen?" He says, "We gave him the message, did we not? Of course he received it." "Sorry, I just wanted to check." You approach the wall. He gets a couple of the bugs to crawl out onto his hands, and he says to them in Draconic, the dwarf needs to forage. Tell Luciferic to open up. And then pushes the bugs back out into the wall, and it's only about 3 minutes or so before some retraction of the vines happens about 60 feet to your left, and as you walk that way, you pick up the pace a little in case it closes before you get there, and as you pass through, it's about another 10 seconds or so behind you. It closes up behind you. It's good to be out of the dome again and out in the morning sun. The sounds of twittering birds is louder from out here, and the sunlight streaming through the canopies. Definitely a welcome response on your skin. How are you going to find these undead? You know the general area where you saw the undead creatures the first time, the large one that may have been a bear or something. You didn't actually get a good look at it, but it was some kind of larger animal. And then you've seen an undead rat in a slightly different direction. You came from the west when you saw the couple of undead the first time, and then you saw the undead rat in the tree towards the northwest. Sniff the air, smell any rot. Around where the Luciferic lair is? No. There's a vegetative dome that you've just stepped out of, and you can smell that sort of acrid kind of poison hanging in the air. That is reminiscent of Luciferic's odour. Go to the area and use primeval awareness. You saw an undead rat recently. So the larger ones were on your walk in when you were first captured, and you were coming from the direct west. Then you went towards the portal in the northwest and found an undead rat on the way. So do you want to go to the west, to the northwest, or some other direction? You want to go back to where you saw the rat? Track from there? Alright, thumbs up to go back to where we first saw the animals, the bigger ones, or thumbs down to go to where we saw the rat more recently? Obviously we're going to be pretending to forage the whole time. Seems like it's leaning towards yes, but I'll put it to a 1-minute poll really quick. Alright, 44% of the vote want to split the difference. With nobody wanting to go any other direction. Only 24% of you want to go towards the rat. 32% of you want to go towards the west. So we're going to split the difference, but we're going to head touching more towards the big ones than the rat, it seems. Apis forages, meanders over that direction, west by northwest. And as you forage, I'll just get you to make a survival check just to see you're not actually foraging all that much. You're just kind of making it look like you are. You're still going to pick up on a few things on the way. Nat 20. Nat 20 plus your exceptional survival skills that I'm not even going to... It's like a plus 200 because you get your forest bonus and everything. You definitely have a good bearing on the direction you're going. What's the weather like today? Let's roll. I'm coming up with weather charts at some point. I'm like halfway through sort of thinking about how I'm going to do it. It's just going to be a simple roll of the dice to decide whether it's raining or not. It is not. It is not raining today. It is a clear day, meaning that the sun is coming through, the spring sun, and because it's early morning, it's like it's what is the bonus altogether? It's like a +9 or something. You get a +2 from wisdom, +3 from survival, +3 from forest bonus. So you've got a +8, I think. So 28 total survival, that one. You with it being early morning, like 7:30 a.m. or so, the sunlight is coming straight in from the east, and so that helps very much keeping your direction, keeping the sun behind you, and it also helps you picking and choosing your path through the forest. You find your the easiest, least disruptive path to take. You also find a few different items on the way. You find enough rations to eat for breakfast. I'll take that 20 for the food first. You were going to find some food for the day, so I will say you get a D4 worth of rations that you find with that 28. Two rations, not including the one that you eat. So you eat for the day, and then you also can replenish your rations by 2. So you manage to store away some food for the day. It might help with your people in the dome if you hand them some food, some extra food. After about an hour of walking or so from the dome, you are far enough away from the dome that you can imagine seeing some of these undead and being in a bit of danger. You're far enough from the dome that the spies are probably still around, but a little thinner on the ground. Some of his forces, some of the green dragon rats and things, are probably not around. So do you want to use Pass Without a Trace? Do you want to use your Primeval Awareness? Do you want to just keep looking? Do you want to just use straight up perception checks to try and find these things? You're going to try and track. Because you kind of split the difference, you haven't gone through the exact direction that you found either the rat or the larger creatures, but you're definitely in that part of the forest. Primeval Awareness, perception checks. Well, we'll do a perception check first, because why not? 18 plus stuff is pretty good. Perception. Forest bonus. Yeah, forest bonus would apply. So that takes it to a 26. With a 26 perception, you can see. Actually, let me do a percentage check here. What's the chances that there's undead around you to actually notice in the first place? You look around. You are pretty confident that there are no undead around you as you walk for that first hour. No tracks of them either. It's hard to know because there are definitely signs of dead animals. Like, it's not unusual in a forest for there to be a couple of, every so often there's a couple of like bird skulls and other animals that have naturally died or been eaten by other animals and whatnot. And you never really know if those were dead and then reanimated and they're dead again. But you don't see any walking animated dead animals. So what do we want to do then? We've done a little perception check around. We don't see any around us. We can just keep foraging in this general direction. We can Pass Without a Trace, or we can Primeval Awareness to see if we can find undead. Do we know if undead are drawn to anything? You don't know anything about undead. Apis is very unfamiliar with undead. You don't have anything in your background that would have led you to interacting with undead. You haven't read about them. You're not studied in the arcane. You don't know about necromancy in general. Alright, let's put it to a vote then, eh? What now? Keep going. Hope for the best. Change direction. Head back. Pass Without Trace. To try and stealth a little bit more. See if you can shake off some of these spies. Or what was the other one? Primeval Awareness. Primeval Awareness. Just 2 minutes to decide. What are we going to do now? You've walked for about an hour, which is further away from the dome than you had seen these undead, which is why you've stopped at this point and said, like, okay, I am further away now and I still haven't seen any. Alright, with 56% of the vote, Apis decides to Primeval Awareness. Primeval Awareness, for those who do not know, is a ranger ability to tap into the nature around you and ask it one question. Is there, or are there, any blank within blank miles of me? There we go, it's in the chat. As an action, Apis can expend a ranger spell slot to focus their awareness on the region around them for 1 minute per level of the spell. So you can choose to cast a second level spell to get it for an extra minute, which is useless. You can sense whether the following types of creatures are present: aberrations, celestials, dragons, elementals, fey, fiends, or undead. You choose which of those to include. Then you choose the radius from you. Because you're in your favoured terrain of a forest, you can get anywhere between you and 6 miles of you. You can say, like, are there any undead within 10 feet of me? But you could probably see that there aren't. So you choose, what are we going to do? And then you decide what to do, what to ask for, and then the answer comes back yes or no. It doesn't tell you the direction, it doesn't tell you the numbers, it just tells you yes, there are undead within this many feet of you or whatever. So we're going to ask, are there any undead within blank distance of me? So the answers you can say is half a mile, less than half a mile, a mile, 2 miles, or more than 2 miles. We've been walking for an hour at our pace through difficult terrain. We do get the ranger featured from now on because we've now been walking in our favoured terrain for more than an hour. But for that first hour, it was difficult terrain. We were warming up, and we are about 2 miles from the dome, an hour in that direction. From this point on, now that we've warmed up our ranger abilities, we've been walking in our favoured terrain for an hour or more, and so from this point on, the tricky wilderness is no longer tricky wilderness for us. We're no longer encumbered by difficult terrain in our favoured terrain. With 56% of the vote, Apis decides to use their first level spell slot to ask, are there any undead within 1 mile of here? You stop where you are, thinking, I swear I saw undead before this. It was closer to the dome than this, I'm sure. And you focus your eyes and you feel what it feels like to be in the presence of undead. You feel what it felt like to fight Sally's shadows and the necromancy that they sucked from you. That feeling of just being creeped out. That sort of cold shiver down your spine. That undead, the feeling that undead gives you. And then you start to feel that feeling, yes. Ooh, yeah, you start to feel that feeling strong. Ooh, oh, it's right down your back. There's a strong feeling of undead within a mile of you. So, you get a very strong sense of yes, there is undead within a mile of you. You're going to start investigating for them now, spiraling out. You look around you, still no sign of undead in the immediate vicinity, but within a mile, very strong yes. I will have you roll an investigation check. This is about how well you can organize a search pattern. It's sort of an intelligence-based thing rather than wisdom. Intelligence check, investigation check. You're not proficient in investigation, so it's just going to be a +3 from your intelligence. Another nat 1. Different dice this time, so you can't blame it. So with a nat 1, do we want to re-roll that using either inspiration or lucky horseshoe? Put a thumbs up if you want to re-roll that. Put a thumbs down if you're fine with leaving it as a 4 total. It is a 4 on your investigation check in order to efficiently cover the ground of a mile radius from where you're standing. Alright, first unanimous decision of that. Nope, Felogund is the first one. Felogund's like, no unanimous decisions for Apis. Never! Alright, sorry fella, you are highly outnumbered there, so we are going to re-roll. We're going to re-roll with our inspiration, because that one has a chance of coming back every day rather than the horseshoe, which does not. Bling! We are feeling inspired. That's much better.
So an 11 plus 3 from our intelligence, 14. Thank you to Spidey NZ in the chat there for the animations and whatnot. All of these overlays. Appreciate it, bud. Forest bonus. Yeah, I think you do get forest bonus, Wraith. Yeah, it makes sense. You're investigating a forest, trying to cover ground in a forest. So yeah, I'll allow that. So an extra 3 on top of that. So 14 takes to 17. 17 investigation check. Not bad at all. You start to investigate the area. It takes you the better part of an hour, maybe approaching like, yeah, somewhere around 45 minutes to an hour before you stumble across your first clear sign of undead, in that it is a large pig that is dead and has its rib cage all showing. It's basically skeletal. It's got a few sinews and flesh on the underside of it where it's fallen sideways. It is very clearly a dead pig, and a large one at that. Not to the point of like giant sized, but very large. It seems to have been mostly devoured by various different forest animals, and there's a couple of different birds sort of in and amongst its rib cage, flitting around and biting and pecking at various flesh. But the thing that catches you as you approach is that its front leg is kind of just gently moving like this, as if it's trying to walk. It is quite clearly animated by some means, but it's got so little of it left. It's basically just a torso and a front leg and a head, and its front leg is still just kind of walking in the air on its side. Prop it up, see if it leads anywhere. You walk over and you sort of shoo the birds away, and you get down behind the rather gross putrefying pork, and give it a little pull. And as you sort of shift it, its head kind of shifts around as if it's just noticing, and it kind of like is moving in erratic fashions with its head and its single tusk that's remaining in its skull. It's kind of like gesturing in your way, but you're way down behind its shoulder blades, so it can't get you. You kind of like pull it up, and its front trotter hits the dirt and just kind of like pathetically scuffs at the ground beside it. You realise at this point that it doesn't have another leg. It's definitely not going to be able to go anywhere or take you anywhere, lead you anywhere. However, as it's doing this, scraping and scrabbling, you hear a snapping of wood behind you, and you sort of glancing over your shoulder to the sound, you see a very large deer with antlers. The antlers seem to blend into its skull, as the skull is open to the elements. Some patches of it sloughing off, and some of the neck muscles showing as it is pulsing and standing watching you. And as we head over to the tail spire, here you are looking over this this dead pig. The camera shifts over your shoulder and suddenly shifts to a very large, very angry looking undead deer, which as soon as you look at it puts its head down towards you, stomps twice, and then sets off running. And I'm going to need initiative from you. And that is where we're going to pick up next time, with initiative of you fighting this undead deer. So thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for deciding on going out to visit the undead. I'm sure that will go very well for you. We will find out next time how this plays out. Make sure you're here for it. Until next time, take care. Oh, damn, is it over already? Well, my Patreons get an exclusive first look at all my new videos, so maybe the next one's live over there already. Go check it out.